An unwritten relationship rule in most societies today is that monogamy is an expectation. Some studies suggest that up to 97% of sampled respondents believe that married people should not engage in extramarital affairs. Despite the attitudes surrounding infidelity, the picture on the ground is completely different. You will actually be shocked. Depending on the study that you look at, the incidence of infidelity ranges between 25 and 65%. Some studies report that 34% of men and 19% of women report engaging in extramarital sex at some point in their lives. In any given year, an estimated 1.5 to 4% of married people engage in extramarital affairs. Studies with selection bias, such as one conducted by Cosmopolitan, have found that up to 69% of female respondents above the age of 35 have had extra-pair relationships. The differences in the prevalence of infidelity is attributed to a number of reasons. For instance, some studies use extramarital sex as the target variable, others ask about affairs, with the definition varying from one study to the next, others utilize continuums rather than binaries in the definition of infidelity, and others explore the increased interest in emotional infidelity, which also includes romantic internet relationships. Particularly, researchers who include emotional infidelity in their studies have come up with higher prevalence of infidelity compared to those who don't. Some studies suggest that 22 to 25% of men and 11 to 15% of women engage in extra-pair relationships. Whatever numbers on the prevalence of infidelity are mere estimates because of two or more reasons. First, since most of the studies rely on self-reporting, it is difficult for researchers to determine the extent to which respondents are truthful. Second, the social presentation of sex and infidelity would lead male respondents to be more willing to disclose their infidelity or even lie or exaggerate, while the opposite is true for women where they might hide the fact that they had an affair. Affairs are often perceived as betrayal by the victim, even though it is worth considering that some people have open relationships and extramarital sex as part of fulfillment in the marriage. Even open relationships have some rules attached to them, with their violation leading to negative emotions, such as anger, stress, and jealousy. The seriousness of commitment, the resources invested, and the possibility of children, all deter married individuals from cheating compared to cohabiting or dating ones. Married women are less likely to have a secondary partner than do dating or cohabiting women. Once dating and cohabiting women get married, they expect sexual exclusivity just like women who never cohabited. The commitment component of the marriage, which informs investing more than in any other form of relationship status, could explain the reduced propensity of cheating. Marriage's protective factor could have a stronger relationship with the level of commitment in a union than the institution itself. Sexual dissatisfaction in the primary relationship does indeed contribute to cheating. Particularly, a decline in the frequency of sexual activity in a union raises the risk of engaging in infidelity, especially for men. The quality of sexual relationship in a union also influences the likelihood of engaging in infidelity. Race influences the relationship between the quality of sexual relationship in a union and the risk of infidelity. African Americans who report sexual problems in their unions, as well as Hispanic men who complain about poor sexual communication skills, are most likely to cheat. The research on the relationship between race and infidelity is quite divided, with some authors supporting it, while others find no correlation. For those that find black people being more likely to engage in infidelity, the relationship is explained by gender ratio differences, that is, there are more black women than there are black men, which means that black married men engage in infidelity with single black women. Research is generally unable to separate the genders when it comes to cheating due to issues in the primary relationship. Something being wrong in the primary relationship raises the risk of actively seeking a secondary partner. Relationship or marital satisfaction has a negative relationship with all forms of extra-pair relationships, including sex and emotion types, with the opposite being true for dissatisfaction, especially for emotional infidelity that predominantly involves women. Men and women involved in both emotional and sexual infidelity are the most dissatisfied with their primary unions than those who engaged in either. Among those who have extramarital sex, Women report way more dissatisfaction than do men. Men and women who have extra-pair relationships with their coworkers have higher marital satisfaction than do those who have affair with people outside of their job. In other words, those who cheat with their coworkers are not exactly unhappy, but instead, they're more likely taking up opportunities that were presented to them. For instance, one-night stands on a job trip are not exactly predictors of problems in the primary relationship, but instead, a deep desire for sexual variety in a union. Some studies suggest that cheating has no relationship with marital quality, which could explain the whole cheating with coworkers being a product of circumstance. Casting doubt on the relationship between marital quality and infidelity presents the opportunity to explore moderating factors that could be left out of the relationship. For instance, religiosity not only influences what satisfaction in one's union looks like, but also determines how dissatisfied couples handle problems in their relationships. Women report an increased likelihood of cheating as the relationship progresses compared to at the start, with this phenomenon being true for dating, cohabiting, and married women. For married women, the peak likelihood of cheating is at the 7th year of marriage, but it declines thereafter. For married men, the likelihood of cheating declines with the length of the relationship, but the 18th year changes everything, where the risk of infidelity starts rising. For dating men, the risk of cheating rises with the length of the relationship, a phenomenon associated with the reduced level of commitment. Children acting as a deterrent against infidelity is based on the fact that they increase the level of investment in the relationship. However, studies support the decline in sexual satisfaction in the relationship, especially due to the reduced frequency of sexual activity after childbirth. Children are also demanding, which puts pressure on a union. The children-related pressures manifest in demands, commitment, and stress. The relationship between a decline in sexual satisfaction and infidelity support the vulnerability of couples with children to cheating. The relationship between religion and infidelity is largely explained by the influence on happiness, consistent exposure to anti-infidelity messages, and tighter social networks that focus on people adhering to the norms of the community. The research on the relationship between religiosity and infidelity is quite divided. Measuring religiosity largely relies on the number of services attended by an individual, with the relationship being inverse with infidelity. Some studies suggest that religiosity has a negative relationship with the risk of infidelity among women, but not men. Factors such as race influence how religiosity relates to infidelity, with the relationship being stronger among blacks and Hispanics compared to whites. Religiosity and infidelity are also affected by the number of years a couple has been married. Dating and cohabiting couples with dissimilar religious values have high cheating risks. A lot of studies support the fact that highly educated people are more likely to adopt liberal and more permissive attitudes towards sex, which raises the risk of engaging in infidelity to up to 1.75 times increased likelihood for graduates compared to those with a high school education. The interaction between education, divorce, and infidelity only holds true for individuals who are divorced. Some studies suggest that the relationship between education and infidelity is true for married women, but it is moderated by differences in the level of education. Particularly, if a woman is more educated than their partner, then they're more likely to have a secondary partner, with the opposite being true if the man is more educated. Education and infidelity is also observed among dating and cohabiting women, which is largely explained by the fact that higher education is associated with more liberal and permissive attitudes when it comes to sex, as well as more opportunities to meet potential partners, especially at work. Individuals on more than $30,000 annually are more likely to engage in infidelity, but it's not really about the money. Money comes with a whole host of things associated with infidelity, such as more opportunities to cheat, entitlement due to less dependence on the relationship, the likelihood of being more educated, and a rise in stress levels. Particularly, Less dependence on the relationship for people with some or a lot of money implies that the risks linked to relationship termination are not of that much concern. As with education, the distribution of income in a union determines who cheats on who. Employment influences infidelity because people spend a lot of time together in the work environment away from their partners. Besides, access to resources owing to employment not only breeds a sense of entitlement, but also, more opportunities. Growing up in a divorced home raises the likelihood of engaging in infidelity, even though it doesn't influence other factors such as using protection with a secondary partner. Particularly, fewer than half of those who engage in infidelity actually use protection. Past divorce and remarriage significantly raise someone's likelihood of cheating, with the lifetime rates of infidelity being twice as likely among those who are divorced or illegally separated. The age at which people start a relationship determines whether one cheats on their partner or not. Noteworthy, young individuals cheat more than those who start their relationships once they've aged a bit. Non-monogamous lesbians are less satisfied in their primary relationship, which translates into a reduced likelihood of commitment into the future. Some same-sex male relationships adapt well to secondary sexual relationships, but it negatively influences sexual satisfaction in the primary relationship. Infidelity is acceptable in some same-sex relationships, even though it is accompanied by pain and jealousy.